Steve, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, fine. Peace of mind and good health.
How was your holidays?
Holiday, I had my born day was the 24th, and holidays was great. Dr. Martin Luther King, as well as inauguration.
You went to the inauguration.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was a soulful event to be in Washington D.C. to see a sister
Mm-hmm.
as vice president sworn in.
Get out. You actually seen that?
Absolutely, right there, right
Well,
there,
you got
right
you,
there.
you got some mementos there, right?
Absolutely. This is inauguration, and this is some of the pictures in here from it. And then, of course, this is the president that was sworn in.
All
And
right.
this is our vice president, uh, Asian black woman,
Yes.
our sister. And it was good to be there because I felt that I was sent there to help protect her because after all, we couldn't depend on the Capitol Police.
No, no,
Not even the
no, my
FBI,
brother.
not even Secret Service. So only thing that I knew there'd be secured with was having a black man.
So this was a life-changing event for you, and you felt in your spirit and soul that you needed to be there in case something went down.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wouldn't want to be on social media clicking a button saying,
I hear you.
"Can I help you?" or "On my way there." But on the front line, with all those soldiers, I've seen thousands and thousands of soldiers in uniform behind the 12-foot barbed wire fence in front of the Capitol, surrounded, blocks of it. And it was amazing because not even the press can get through a certain area
Mm-hmm.
because of what happened on January the 6th. But you know, amazing thing, I seen all these soldiers, but I didn't see no tanks. And in our community, when Black Lives Matter or peaceful protest, there was tanks and tear gas and army soldiers and everything. But after they actually went into the Capitol and was getting ready to hold people hostage, the mob,
Not only hold them hostage, kill them.
kill them. They was going to kill.
They said
Let's
that.
call it what it is.
Yeah.
It was going to kill, and they still out there. I mean, they were escorted down the steps of the Capitol after doing an insurrection against the sacred ground of our democracy.
And like I said in one of my previous podcasts, that uh, this is not new. There was only one other incident on American soil that succeeded in insurrection, and that was in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was called the Wilmington, North Carolina Massacre of 1898, where they killed people, black folks, for trying to vote.
Yes, you're right.
So they came in there, they killed folks, they threw the government out and installed their only one, installed their government. Now, that's the only time that an insurrection succeeded on American soil. But the funny thing about it, Donald Trump came this close to doing the same thing.
And it's amazing. And this is what we talk about when we say white privilege, because as a black person, being on the streets and being on protests on the front line, a lot of people speaking about it, but they've never been out there.
Right.
And we were arrested peacefully on July the 4th, their Independence Day, for doing a peaceful protest about challenging the Constitution, doing it peacefully like Dr. Martin Luther King showed us, like Reverend Sharpton and the National Action Network, how we've been doing for years. If it wasn't for them to pass the torch and show there's a peaceful way of doing things, then we would have looked like them.
I was there, but I couldn't walk as far as you guys walk. You walk around the world to get to the expressway.
Right.
Because I need my knees replaced.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been there. But if I had been there, I'd been with you.
Brother, you was right there in heart.
But you see,
sometimes we need the heart
I'm
and
glad
the prayers.
Yeah, amen to that.
Without the prayers, man, listen, we couldn't be out there on the front line.
As a minister, that's what I do. I pray.
Right. That's right.
When I can't march, I pray.
We need it. We know what's happening.
But see, now here's the thing. I always keep harping on what the mayor did. And the mayor could have accomplished everything he wanted without having a press conference. That upset me because that's what you call prior restraint. That means when the government comes in and try to silence you from free speech, which can be marching, sit-ins, protests. When he did what he did, it showed that he did not understand constitutional law. Because if he understood constitutional law, he wouldn't have held a press conference and said the crazy things that he said. That's why I'm upset about that. That a black man that has the power of the state behind him decided to violate your constitutional rights, have you arrested, and all the other times he didn't, even though he wasn't in office. But 3 weeks before that, he didn't have you arrested. You've had marches down through the years, because I've been at them,
Yes.
where you shut down the expressway,
Absolutely, yes.
nobody got arrested. All he had to do was says, all right, just let, because I know you, because I've been with you.
Right.
You says, all right, now it's time to move on down. I've been there, so I've seen that.
Right.
So I know that.
Exactly. You're
I
exactly
know
right.
that that's what would have happened. So to have a black man in office that does not understand basic constitutional rights is troubling.
Well, it's troubling, and also it shows that about leadership skills
Yes.
and experience. One thing about it, I don't brag about what I do, but I know I have a certain amount of experience to bring to the table,
Yes.
any table,
Yes.
in any community. And that's all what we try to do, use the God-given talents to spread our knowledge of what we know how to do and build our communities to be peaceful and safe. And that's what we've been doing. That's my lifestyle has been that. So to have seven, not only me arrested, but have seven black men arrested, talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about a black agenda, talking about COVID-19 not opening the city so we won't have an epidemic, because the majority of us as black people was dying from COVID-19 at that
From
time. It was a
COVID-19.
high risk during July.
Yes.
That's why the state was shut down. So to open it up on that day of independence, and you saying Black Lives Matter, you're doing the opposite when you're letting people come in without being checked and different things like that for COVID-19. So it's very disrespectful
Yes.
to do that for someone that's standing up, even for him as a black man and for his family. Sometimes we understand some people can't speak up for themselves.
Right.
And that's why others are there to use their talents to do so. But when you endorsed by the Governor Murphy, and
State,
you're
yeah.
the state, and you already in a state takeover under the Municipal Stabilization Recovery Act. So to have a black person as a front for the state to be endorsed by a state the governor for his election, and then to carry it on after the election to swear him in on after he gets in, and then give him a 30-something thousand-dollar raise. That's almost like pay to play.
Sounds
Because
like the money bags is flowing.
exactly. Because how you want to reward somebody, you know what I mean, for doing this to black folks, to your black community, to talk about the genocide that's going on, taking away the maternity ward so you can't even be born here. So you want to speak against all that
That's
and
still an issue,
support
right?
somebody? Absolutely, yes.
So Atlantic City does not have a maternity.
Atlantic City, we have the highest infant mortality rate amongst blacks than this whole state of New Jersey. The highest.
So
Because they took away our birthplace when maternity ward, where you can give birth. Instead, you got to go 15 to 20 miles outside of a city that you could probably walk to, which was a 5-minute walk. So that pain and that labor during the current of birth is a human rights violation to be taken away. That's a genocide to the black community.
actually, that's close to a 2-hour ride one way.
And suppose when you get there, it's forced labor. Like that means you don't have the baby right now. You had the ambulance take you all the way out there. How are you gonna get back home? That's extra stress. And it's taken away from our community if you have to take an Uber or a taxi or a cab.
Or if, God forbid, wait on a bus.
Exactly. So that's a strain on giving the birth to, that's a human rights violation. Now the state knows that. Now that was worth going to jail for.
I hear you. Now, the mayor hasn't moved on that or spoke on it.
See, when we were talking about the black agenda through the Black Men United Coalition and others, because it's a coalition of other organizations and everybody working together to
Mhm.
use our talent and resources to bring about the Black agenda. One thing was health. Health was in our agenda. When we had asked, and it was a request, well, what do y'all want? We said we want to meet with the decision makers, such as the owners of the hospital,
Right. Which
so
we
we
talked
can
about
talk
before.
to them
Yeah.
about bringing a maternity ward back here in Atlantic City. Instead, don't you know the state gave them more money to expand their hospital without a maternity ward? Millions of more
I did
dollars.
not know
You can
that.
go out there right now and you'll see a fence up. So on across the street from the hospital where they're taking more property and for eminent domain because of hospital,
Right.
and then and the state helped do this, and then the city gave them money as well as the state, so they're going to expand to have a clinic instead of maternity ward where you can be born.
Well, that's why we have these discussions, these chats, because we have to keep these issues before the people because they need to understand what exactly is going on in Atlantic City and the surrounding areas because you're not going to get it from the press. You're not going to get it from what's that other one that's online? Breaking AC.
Breaking AC now.
Breaking it. You're not going to get this kind of information.
They
on
don't
those.
come out in our community and do investigative reporting.
Right.
They're not going to do that.
Right.
So we have to bring about our own news. And thank God you're using your God-given talent through prayer and doing what we're talking about doing right now to bring about the information and knowledge to our people to wake them up and stay woke.
Yes, yes. And then, the more we understand about the issues, the more we can respond to them. Like I give you example. I was talking to a conservative friend of mine. He said, Black folks voted on emotions. I said, well, yeah, most of them, yeah, we did vote on emotions. And I said to him, I said, the reason why that happened because, people have to make a living. They don't read a lot of political stuff. They don't pay a lot of attention to the political programs on TV. But what they do pay attention to is what they hear in passing. One of the reasons they got Trump kicked out of office because of his big mouth. Talked about Black folks, talked about gay folks, he talked about women, he talked about the military, he talked about cripples. So people in passing, when they hear this stuff, they say, well, what about the issues? I said, well, I don't know about the issues, but I heard what he said.
That's right. And it's this thing called, that's why we say systemic racism.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what the system is built upon. And Trump actually exposed what we've been going through for years.
And have known for years.
Exactly.
Decades.
So now they starting to feel what we went through. So they decide to go in the Capitol. Well, we decided to go in the street or go into the boardroom and say, change this policy, or use that vote and say, change this policy. That's how we learned, and that's what we was taught how to do it. And it's a shame for someone to get away with murder.
Yeah.
To go into our house, which is the Capitol.
Did they ever
belongs
catch
to the
him?
public.
Who did that?
Well, the president initiated it.
Well,
That's just like
he's a
saying,
co-conspirator.
that's just like saying fire in a movie theater.
Which you can't do.
So I don't care. You're not, no one's above the law. So you got to make an example out of those who've done something wrong to the people.
And see, that brings up another issue. When it comes down to voting, are you not Democrats, you Republicans, conservatives, that what they do, they don't want him to answer for what he did. And we have to remember that when it goes to voting again in 4 years or even 2 years for the Senate and House, in some cases 4. But we need to remember that these folks did not want to hold insurrectionists, murderers, white supremacists, Proud Boys, alt-right, third percenters, all them knuckleheads.
They even had a Confederate flag. They had swastikas. They
That's the one I
walked through
left
with
out.
weapons.
Yes.
They walked through with weapons and had handcuffs and ties to tie people up with. You went into the Capitol building. Now, no question. We look at this. See, this is when we talk about white privilege. and tells two countries. Here it is, the black man, Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and others. Every time we have someone to stand up for us, FBI investigates them,
Yep.
CIA investigates them. You got the county, you got the marshals, everybody, they watching us.
Yep.
So you mean to tell me, with Secret Service, Capitol Police, CIA, Secret Service, that you couldn't stop them from coming in?
They knew.
Of course
They knew.
So they
It's coming
coming
out
open.
more and more that they knew and decided to do nothing.
And so what we've been saying for years, just like when the police shoot us down unarmed in our communities, what we've been saying for years, and the reason why we're marching, we've been telling them Black lives don't matter. We've been telling them for years it don't matter to them. And it's a shame that some of us give excuses for what the devil does.
You know, and here's the other thing. My pastor says this, and I told him I was going to use it. Out of all the marches we've done, out of all the protests we've done, out of all the sit-ins and the complaining we do, not once did we decide to try to take over the country.
Absolutely not.
You can't point to one black movement. Well, the Black Panthers. No, they never tried to take over the company.
Nope.
I mean, they never tried to take over the country. White supremacists are the only one that feels like they have the right to take over the country. That's how the Civil War got started.
They planned the Civil War.
Yeah.
He knew it when he got in office. That's how he's going to leave. If you're going to take me out, or I'm going to shut down this country. He basically said.
Now,
he said I can shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth
he
Avenue
said it.
and I will get away with it. What's the difference than shooting somebody and having somebody go to the Capitol and shoot somebody down and get a red carpet to walk out of the White House on our helicopter, then take our jet, Air Force One, to fly down to take a vacation to his property in Florida. And then to still be in the background supporting other Republicans for office.
You know,
who could do that? What other
racist
country will allow someone to destroy their diplomacy? Destroyed it because it's a question. And this is something we've been saying and fighting all our lives for over 400 something years from being here. That Constitution was not built for a black person.
Nope.
And you white people, stop giving excuses because you do not know how it feels to be black.
Nope.
So you wonder why we vote and why we do things the way we do? Because we black and we know it. We know Black Lives Matter to us.
To us.
But do it matter to you? And you have manifested through a resurrection to try to get rid of us.
Yeah.
Because that's the plan, to get rid of us.
That's what
completely.
The thing on January 6th was about the black vote.
That's right.
Because they didn't come out and say it. They talk about, we want to make sure everything is fair, which is code or dog whistle for. We want to make sure that the black folks who stood up and voted are not counted.
That's right.
That's what it was all about.
And especially in Georgia.
In Georgia.
Especially in Georgia. That runoff in Georgia proved a lot of things of racism in this country.
Yeah.
It proved it.
Now, here's the thing. Most people don't realize this, that the reason why Trump was watching all that craziness going on the 6th, because he wanted to declare martial law. And if he had declared martial law, all elections were discounted and you had to do it over again. Now, how did he want to do that? And I did this on one of my other shows, podcasts, so I'm going to throw it to you right quick. You kept hearing him talking about dealing away with the absentee ballots.
Yep.
If he had succeeded in getting rid of the absentee ballots, everybody would have been forced to go to the polls. And if everybody was forced to go to the polls, then the Proud Boys, the alt-right, the third percenters, the white supremacists, all them crazy groups would have started fighting at the polls.
Right.
When you fight at the polls, it's a federal issue.
Absolutely.
Then the president can come in and declare martial law.
Correct.
Which means the election is off.
That's right.
We're going to do it all over again. And if that had happened to enough states that he declared martial law on, the election would have been none.
Right.
He'd be in office today.
But look at what he did. The whole world seeing how superpower like like America is.
Yeah.
And that's why you heard the term that Malcolm used. It's a dangerous term, but if you use it correctly, it's not dangerous. The chicken's coming home to roost. What he meant by that,
Tell it.
when a chicken comes to their house, it's the same. It's a reflection of what was already done. So what was already done to us as Black people is a reflection of what happened on January the 6th.
Yes.
The
Yes.
invading of our communities, the invasion of bringing us here and having us as slaves for all those years, the invasion of suppressing our votes for all these years. And voter suppression was the number one thing, especially with COVID 19.
Yeah.
And then the systemic racism, but we overcame all of that through God's grace.
Amen.
To, and we have a Black woman as a vice president,
Amen.
Black Asian woman,
And she's apologetically Black.
and never say one vote don't count,
Oh,
because this is a one vote. It's a 50-50 now. 50 senators and 50-50. So that means 50 senators is 50 on the Senate.
right. Right.
So now
decided.
she was the Senate, just like Biden was going to had to approve the election. She breaks the tie in the Senate. See, it's one thing to control the White House, and that's what President Barack did for years. And everybody wondered why he couldn't get things done. He didn't control the Senate
Right.
and the Congress and the House.
Right. Right.
So that's who makes the laws and who can tell you and when it comes to spending. And that's what we see going on. But this sister can break a tie. One vote. And it happened through Georgia, mostly Black community
They
that
stood up.
made it come through.
They stood up
So
and said, "You will no
congratulations
longer
and
ignore
thank you.
us." Yes.
As a Black community, those Black young people that came out and vote, we applaud you. But part two is accountability. Accountability to this man who is the president.
Meaning that we thank God for what happened, but if you ain't gonna do right by us,
Exactly. Exactly. So it's very important that we support this sister because she holds a lot of power, even more than the president,
yep.
because she can control the legislation. See, you got three branches of the government. You got the executive, which is your president,
Mm-hmm.
the executive branch, and then you got your legislative branch, which is Congress and Senate, and then you got your judicial, which is the Supreme Court. So therefore, they were supposed to be checks and balances. For the first time in history, I've known that we actually going to be check and balances through a Black woman being able to what she's been through and what she know the racism, because you can only be Black to know what racism really is.
Yeah.
And we know what, and we don't know what privilege is because we ain't white.
And we don't get that benefit of the doubt. Period.
Exactly.
Now, voting. You hear these Black conscious folks and these hoteppers talking about voting ain't important. We shouldn't vote as Black folk because it don't mean nothing.
Okay, I asked them this. When COVID 19 came out, who was the ones that tell you you couldn't go outside or shut down or put a mask on? It was elected officials.
Yeah.
It was the governors. It was the presidents. So if you didn't vote, you still had to go by the rule that they voted on.
It makes common sense to me. You know, why would you let a racist make rules that you have to follow anyhow?
Right. So if you're not voting, you're part of the problem. And if you're not a responsible voter and hold them accountable, you're definitely the problem.
Yep.
Because that means you saying your vote don't count if you're not holding them accountable to carrying out the legislation that you actually, as a voter, are responsible to do. See, let's understand this from the president on down to every elected official. They are public servants.
Yeah.
Let's stop calling them politicians Let's not stop calling them Democrat or Republicans. Call them public. That means you, servant, serving you as a service to you. And they took an oath for that. But you know one thing about an oath? What we learned on January the 6th? When we seen police officers all over the country shoot down unarmed black men and women and said they feared for their life without a gun and without a weapon. But yet you see a mob going to the Capitol with guns, and not one of them was shooting at them, saying that they fear for their life. See, that's the privileged part. If they had been black, oh, we fear for our life, we had to bomb them,
yep.
We had to shoot them down,
yep.
And it's still going on today. It have not stopped because of January the 6th.
Right.
Let's not go to sleep. Let's stay awoke.
Yeah, because sometimes we miss, because we did a New Year's broadcast, and they interviewed me on it, and I says, in the light of all that is happening, we have just somehow misplaced what the police are still doing to black people.
That's right.
They're still killing us. They're still shooting us down in the street and using the racist trope, I feared for my life. It makes no sense.
And you as taxpayers pay for the attorney, you pay for the settlements, you pay for their, when they resign, their pension, and they still can go to another job and do it again, even if they fired.
Yep.
Now, one thing about those people that was arrested after the insurrection on January the 6th, they were just arrested afterwards. We were arrested right there on the spot for walking down the street in Atlantic City.
Yep.
Walking down the street and was arrested peacefully. No weapons, no guns, no ties, no handcuffs, and arrested.
And on top of that,
tackled to the ground and forcibly. Now here it is, these white folks went into the Capitol, our nation's capital, with all the legislators for a coup. They walk out. Some of them got escorted out with police officers.
Some of them took planes out.
Yes, took planes out. And let's look at their process. Even when they caught up with them, they arrested them and charged them. And I guarantee you, 89% of them are walking the street right now.
Of course.
It ain't like they held them. There's a process. You get arrested, you get your chance in court, your due process in court. After that, you're sentenced, and then you may do some time. Now, can you imagine white folks going to other white folks talking about after the arrest, we're going to convict you and somebody's going to prosecute you? That's white folks, another white folks doing it to another one.
Yeah.
And then, and see, that's how we know the system ain't work. And then they're going to have speedy trials, most likely. We ain't had no speedy trial. Now it's been since July. They don't know when we going back to court.
Well, they got to be careful with that. And I'll say that, I'll just leave it at that. They have to be careful. That's why it hasn't happened like that. Because if the circumstances were different, you'd have been before a judge by now.
And what other cities are doing, they recognize that Black Lives Matter, especially after January the 6th. They seen how the systemic racism we've been talking about. And they are actually, in New York, the Attorney General suing the police department for arresting Black Lives Matter protesters peacefully. Suing them.
You see,
see, and what I'm saying about what happened at the Capitol, though, January the 6th. So they have to be convicted. And then after they convicted, do you think they're going to have a sentencing that for 5 or 10 years or go before a firing squad? I don't think so.
Nope.
But we walked the streets of America that was already blocked off, a vacant street, and we get arrested, handcuffed, tossed around, our name put in the paper like we committed the worst crime of the century. And here it is, white folks.
It's protest. Their protest is okay, but your protest is against the law.
Right. It's almost like we did it peacefully, and they call that a riot. And what they did going to the Capitol, that was peaceful, so they didn't get arrested.
Now, the thing that gets me is that on all your marches, and I'm not sure if you did it on that day or not. I can't remember. Maybe you can refresh my memory. But you said that we don't want any violence.
That's correct.
Um, all the ones that I've attended, you said that. I can't remember whether you said that about the last one or not. But my point is this: all you had to do was take a minute and review the history. Then you would have known that okay, he's just blowing off hot air. Let him do his thing and let him move on like he done all the other times before. You'll stop there for a minute, you give a few words, and then he keep moving. That's that to me. That's the problem when it comes down to black folks not knowing what they need to know in order to help us.
Well, that's what happens with when it manifests that you are a puppet and there's a puppeteer in charge.
You ignore the law.
And they're
Yeah.
white.
Yeah.
And let's call it what it is. You have a white governor that's running Atlantic City. It has black folks that we think are in charge.
Yeah.
And we have to let him know that no more business as usual. We know who you are. And you, just like with anything else, you could have told them, don't arrest them. You could have told them, don't do that. You could have told them, let's sit down
And wait.
and talk. We asked for Black Lives Matter to be on the boardwalk. The governor and put your mayor, Smalls, out front and say, oh, have it here in front of the strip club where a white woman can look down there.
Yeah, I seen
That's
that.
what a white, we know that he had to approve that. But he wouldn't approve it being on that boardwalk where the whole nation would have said, and he would have been admitting that Black Lives Matter to him. But we showing, and the rest of them are showing, that Black Lives Matter don't matter to you. If you're going to let our children walk down the historical Black street, Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, and you see a naked white woman in a strip club looking down at Black Lives Matter with a smile.
You know, I seen you when you
That's
did that.
disgraceful.
I seen the interview that you when you went there. I seen that interview. But see, here's the thing. Martin Luther King says, you know, a black snake will bite you just as well as a white snake.
That's right.
Meaning that just because a person is black does not mean that they have our people's best interests at heart. Now, we will hold Mayor Smalls accountable. Now, does that mean that how can I put this? That we hate him? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that for too long we have been the victim of bad policing, bad governing, bad everything. Now a black person comes along and you still do the same things that these snakes did in the past. No, we say no. The people say no.
That's right. And the thing about it, sometimes you got to denounce the devil that you're with.
Yeah.
I mean,
You gotta call them out.
you got to make a decision. The people that oppress the most, and that's consistent with being on the street and in the community, there's no way you can be making decisions on a community without having them right there at the table, setting the table for a new world order or for things to happen the right way. Here it is, the state of New Jersey has been running our school system, has been running our politics here for years. And look how much debt they put us in when they was running it. And always they make it look like the black person
It's the problem.
is the problem. So we got to stop. He has his way out right now, Mayor Smalls. You have to stand with the people to get rid of
He ain't
the
gonna do
devil.
that. The reason why he ain't gonna do that is because he's bourgeois.
Well, he's supposed to be a religious man, I understand. So,
That don't mean he can't be bourgeois, and that don't mean he can't be a snake. And we don't say these things to be mean, okay, or to just be outright nasty towards somebody we don't like. No, there's more at stake than that. Okay, personal feelings you take out of it, like he couldn't do when he had you arrested, because all he had to do was keep quiet and have them do what they did. Okay, all right, but he had a press conference.
not only a press conference talking about having us arrested. He said we're going to arrest them and to the fullest extent of the law.
which he doesn't seem to know.
And he's not even police. See, that's a different form of the government. He's not a police, so he's not supposed to tell officers what to do, and you're not supposed to do that. You cannot do that as a mayor. The police chief, they have their own, because that's has to do with the court system, because that's the next step. So that's the judicial system. That's that part of the government. It's supposed to be checks and balances. So to do something like that, it's really heartening to us to know
It's disappointing.
and disappointing. But the truth is the light.
The truth is the light, yeah.
There's no way we can even be talking about these things if these things happen to happen. And we understand things happen for a reason, something will come out of it.
Now he kept trying to get you booted off the boards, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. So what you said, it's like premeditated. You know, you have a press conference. Oh, I'm gonna have them arrested if they go out there and walk the street peacefully. They're gonna be locked up. I'm gonna have that, Mr. Young. I'm gonna make sure he's off the planning board. We're gonna take him off the planning board, which is a volunteer position, unpaid, and a community service. I'm going to take him off the civilian advisory board dealing with the police and community networking and networking together, you know, about issues and policy. I'm going to take him off that volunteer position. But yet, here it is for somebody to talk about taking you off from being the mayor and using the vote to do it.
Right.
You get a raise.
Now, did that happen? They weren't able to do that.
They weren't able to do it, you know, because they don't know how to do it.
Well, let me hit you. They don't know how to do it, but
and the thing about it is
the state told them not to do it, right?
Let me tell you what happened. He's threatened, said he was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Council put it on the agenda to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The state says, wait a minute, you can't do this. So the council had to take it off the agenda. A month later, they snuck it back in the agenda and they voted for it, for me to be off. So they thought I was off. I kept having meetings. I had a meeting every month since July. And at our meetings, I'll thank God for the Black woman that's on our board. We have 5 Black women on our board, and we need to, there's no other board that I know of in New Jersey. They have 5 Black women on it. And the thing about it, they are very consistent, they're truthful, they're honest, and they're respected in this community. And I say that for a reason, because the fact of the matter is, when it came to reorganization, they thought enough of me and the things I've done to still have me reappointed as chairman of the board.
Oh, get out.
So I never left the board. But the amazing thing, there was 2 meetings we couldn't have because the mayor's on the board and the mayor didn't even use his obligation and his public service to come to the meeting. So he was a disservice to all of us and the community, not coming to the meeting. And not only that, I had to send him a letter.
He didn't like you.
I had to send him a letter saying, look, it ain't about me. It's about the service and the oath that you took for this community.
Oh,
and you supposed to, your service is for you to select other people to be on the board because we have some vacancies, as well as your obligation for at least an hour out of the time to come on the board and vote on issues that affect different homeowners, businesses, and people that want to do something when it comes to planning in our community. And you was absent too many times.
Because of you, which always brings up the point, if I don't like you, and I always say this, if I don't like you, but you are doing stuff that help my people and not hurting my people, I would support you. Now, apply that to Mayor Smalls. If I didn't like Mayor Smalls, but yet he was doing things the right way, I would have to vote for him and I would have to support him because he's doing the right thing, even though I don't like him. That ain't the case. I'm just saying, I'm using that as an example. So for a sitting mayor to take it personal, and every time he gets a chance to deal you a front, he will do it because he don't like you. Forget about all the issues. That to me hurts our people more than anything. Marty Smalls, you don't have to like the man. Okay, you probably don't. But if he's doing what he's doing to help the community, which he has a multitude of testimonies. Matter of fact, let me tell you one quick one. We were in a store in Wawa's, I think it was Atlantic City. We was about to go to a mart somewhere, and I forget when it was. And this lady come out and says, to you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she paid for all of our lunches.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
Yeah. And this shows that
testimonial.
Yeah, that's what it happened.
Yeah.
And we understand and see religiously testimony. Test is in it.
Yes.
And it's like a matrimony through marriage.
Yes.
So testimony is very important because it gives a vision of your relationship, of your test that you go through God.
Amen.
So I just wanted to make that
Amen.
point. Testimonies are very, and with testimony comes experience. And nobody can take that away or give it to you.
See, so here's the thing. All people that don't like you, I will stack up all the positive testimonies against theirs any day.
Well, I tell them, call me. If you have a problem with me, reach me. 888
And let's talk
400 1236. That's 888 400 1236. Call me. Talk to me. If I don't have no problem with admitting that I'm wrong. Because all of us have a mental problem. And if you don't have a mental problem, you're lying.
And that's a mental problem in itself. Not admitting that you have one.
But jealousy and envy is dangerous.
Yes.
And I see that in the mayor, the jealousy and envy of not standing up and being the man that you should be and doing a service for your community.
You see, we need him.
And it's very childish to know that you're that type of person. And you haven't been a full-time mayor for 4 years, four-year term yet. You got to run again in June, and then you got to run again in November.
You need all the help you can get.
So why attack other black people, especially ones that go out and get votes?
And the one who's expressing their fundamental right to protest and disagree. The mayor, listen, you need us.
Yes.
You need people like him. You may not like him, but you need him. You need people like me because we're the ones who vote for you. But if you keep doing crazy stuff, illegal stuff, unconstitutional stuff, we cannot trust you.
And a point of information, and take this experience. The first black mayor we had was Mayor James Usher. When I was on 31 North Virginia Avenue, an abandoned building, they was going to widen the road because Donald Trump, the president at that time, he was building Taj Mahal Casino. And they wanted to tear down our building where black folks and Hispanic people lived in and widen the road so his buses and limos could come down the street. We protested and blocked off the street for 8 hours. And I went to jail. There was SWAT team, helicopter. It was like moved. They were getting ready to bomb us. Put my life on the line. Now, that Mayor Smalls, you was living up the street when it happened. I was saving your house as well. And here it is. And I'm going back to leadership. Mayor Usher said, and that was the first time I went to jail. My bill was $200,000 cash.
Get out.
And I ain't had no bodies and no weapons. And I guarantee those people that went in that and the Capitol, their bill ain't that high.
No.
But when you go a truth to power, this is what they put on your head. And I know there's bullets with my name on it, but I fear no one but God. What I'm saying, Usher said, Steve, I have to do something about this. Trump and the governor, all of them are saying, look, what's going on with this little street? We can't ride this street. He said, look, I got to do something for the people, as long as they make it, So Usher said, Steve, keep making the noise, keep doing you have to do your part so I can do my part.
In other words,
We all played a role.
Wasn't it President Wilson that said, make me do it?
Exactly. And what happened with Usher, he understood our role. And you know what happened from that? Flagship had an obligation. He made Flagship spend over $4 million to renovate 31 North Virginia Avenue. And it's still standing today. And Trump was closed down today.
I didn't know that.
It came from being in the street and demanding things that we made that happen. Without a weapon, without a gun, just the truth and fearing nothing but the God that we believe in.
I can't believe
so these type of things are very important. You might hear it for the first time, but that's what a leader does. It understands everybody's role and carrying it out. And we want to thank,
I apologize for that.
Mayor Ushery, we thanked them, all the way when they even try to set him up and do things to him.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were there, me and Big Mike from 31 North Virginia Avenue. So I just want to say, everybody plays a role. And I told you, Mayor Small, when you first got in office, you said, I got you some support. I said, my job is to hold you accountable.
And that's what you're doing.
And I said, a real person that cares is going to pull your coattail when they see you doing something wrong. And that's accountability. And that's all I did. And you want to have me arrested, thrown under the jail, and mess with my character. You mess with the wrong black man.
Yep.
Because I know the power of God is with me.
Now, you know that most leaders, and I say this not in jest, but most successful leaders wind up one of two ways. They either are assassinated. Well, no, that's usually what happens to good leaders, and you are aware of that.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I don't walk from death, I walk to death. I went to the nation's capital. Yeah, with the army down there. Everybody was scared to go. Let's call it what it was. They says, no way you go to Washington, D.C. on January the 20th.
I wouldn't have went.
Do not go to Washington.
I wouldn't have went.
Well, I got a black sister down there that's going to be sworn in as the first black woman in the country as vice president. There's no way if something jump off. I can't be there to try to assist the sister. And the other reason, it was about history and not fearing no one but God.
We are a part of, Obama was the first history-making moment, but this tops that.
Yes.
Because all what has been going on. And political climate hasn't been this charged since the 60s. When black brothers was marching against the Vietnam War, against poverty, against police brutality. Back then, they always had a saying, and I employ this in at the end of all my videos. It says, keep the faith.
Yes.
Now, what that meant was that we would slap five and we say, keep the faith, meaning that don't stop what you're doing because it's good. So my brother, I'm saying to you, keep the faith because it's going to get rocky. And to the mayor, listen, we want to support you. We want you to succeed, but you cannot succeed on the backs of black people because you're getting paid big money. You cannot be bourgeois because you're making a certain amount of money. Your people needs you. I need you. Steve needs you. So put away all the pettiness. Let's get back down to running the city the way it's supposed to be run. That's my word on it. Steve, you have the last word.
My word is, I don't trust you no more. I do not trust you no more. I do not trust you no more. And saying that, you had your opportunity and it's over. So now just go retire or whatever you're going to do. Just get out the way right now and let us carry on with about some new solutions with a black agenda to make our community a more peaceful and safe place for everybody to come and live. And if we have a plan to do that, then we should be working together to do that. And that's from the governor all the way to the new president, all the way to the vice president on down. So I say to you, if you have a talent, and your talent may be in having parties, stick to that if that's what works for you. But when it comes to service in our community, if people are doing it without getting a dime, just being a public servant, then be that. But don't say you're there for the people and you get a pay increase during COVID and during a recession, and everybody else is waiting on the survival check, the stimulus check every month, and you getting a 30 something $1,000 raise. That's a whole salary for somebody. And here it is during this time, you get it. And was it a reward for oppressing other black people on behalf of the governor? That's the question, and that's what we're going to find out very soon. But I thank everybody. I thank you. It's always an honor to come here to speak the truth and get our knowledge out to our people so they can stay woke. So thank you
Amen.
again.
So again, thank you for listening. My name is Minister Tyrone J. Floyd, aka Church Dude 2020. Remember the name. Also, say continue to social distance, continue to